Hello friends, today I want to talk to you about a little different topic, and it has to do with Washington State and our beautiful geology as well as our natural wildlife. If you live in the Pacific Northwest, you might have heard of a place called the Mima Mounds, and that's a place I recently went with my classes, and we had a wonderful time exploring the park, which is a long trail. And they have a gazebo with lots of information about the Mima Mounds and different theories about how those mounds may have formed. If you live in Washington State, or if you're passing through the Pacific Northwest, you might want to stop at the Mima Mounds so that you can see this kind of geological phenomena firsthand. If you go soon, you might even see that the camas flowers are blooming. First, let's take a look at the Mima Mounds. Then we're going to look at some of the flowers, and then finally the trails where we can see a lot more of the trees and the life that's kind of more typical to the Pacific Northwest. So let's take a look at those mounds now. It can be kind of difficult to really tell the shape and contour of the topography when you're looking at the mounds in photos. In real life, it's really interesting because it's like mounds and then mounds and then mounds, and it's really interesting because the mounds look like they're very similar size and shape from one another. So there are all kinds of theories as to what could have formed those mounds. I think like 4 or 5 come to mind. One of the theories is that gophers formed the mounds. Okay, gophers. That's interesting. Another theory is that it was formed by flooding. Another is that it could have to do with plate motion, either convergent or divergent plate boundaries. Yet another theory is, or I should say hypotheses, another hypothesis of the how the Mima Mounds might have formed has to do with glaciers. And as we know, in the Pacific Northwest, a lot of our topography and geography around here is from glaciers. Yeah, so like the movement of glacial ice could have moved things around. Yeah, so then there's another theory that perhaps those mounds were actually places where there are burial sites. So there's several different theories, and I might have missed some. There might have been a few others, but there are 5 that really stood out to me. And along the park, there's actually this like little gazebo. In the gazebo, there's a lookout point on top. Be careful, because some kids were kind of tempted to try to walk on the tippy top of it. Don't let them do that. But there's a little lookout point you can look down, and then underneath that in the gazebo there are all these like plaques with information about popular theories and ideas about what could have happened that could have formed the Mima Mounds. So try not to, if you're a teacher or a homeschool parent, try not to lead your children into going towards one idea or the other. But there are like 5 different ideas that could be responsible, 5 different claims, and then they can try to figure it out themselves. Scientists really haven't figured out how the Mima Mounds have formed exactly. It really is still up for debate. So it's interesting that this is a real topic that kids and other people, you know, anybody, can really consider the evidence and try to figure out for themselves what may have transpired in this area. And if you have a chance, there is a second site that we had a chance to look at. There's probably some pictures online. Nature's happening on me right now. But you can actually see what's on the inside of those mounds. Now you can't go and just dig and stuff like that, but I was able to, because I brought a class there, was able to see what was on at each of the horizons, horizons A, B, and C, looking at the soil and so forth. It was interesting. It was very rocky. There's lots of rocks. The rocks were kind of rounded in shape. They varied in size from very small, size of a golf ball, and maybe the size of a small mango. Yes, I'm making very fruity size comparisons, but from the size of like very small to about the size of a fruit. So they're not huge rocks. They come in various sizes, and they're all kind of smooth and rounded. That might give you some ideas of what claims you can eliminate. As a gardener, I can't leave out the flowers. I was actually fortunate to be able to go when the camas are blooming. And so, of course, whenever you're visiting a natural park or reserve, I can't speak. When you're visiting a reserve, you don't go around picking wildflowers. That was a struggle, trying to get the kids to understand not to pick anything and to leave things the way we find it. So, like, we don't scuff up the turf with our feet. We don't try to dislodge them if there's moss growing. We leave things intact, and we don't disturb wildlife. So we're going there kind of like a fly on the wall, just observing, taking pictures, enjoying ourselves, listening to the songbirds, reading over some of the information, talking to friends, enjoying the sunshine, and all of that good stuff. But we don't pick the flowers. You can always grow your own garden. Follow my channel if you want to do that. Grow our own garden, pick our own flowers, but we don't pick flowers at national parks, state parks, reserves, or places like that. This is supposed to be kept the way it was, the way it's been for a very, very long time. You can also learn more about our indigenous people of the Pacific Northwest, because there are stories that also explain how those Mima Mounds may have formed in a cultural perspective. So that's also interesting. I'm going to put some links in the description box and in the comments below of where you can find more information, where this place is located, and so forth. But definitely hopefully that you'll check this place out if you're in the Pacific Northwest, if you're visiting, if you're an educator or a homeschooler and you live nearby, anywhere in the western part of the state. It's worth spending a day out there. You can even bring a picnic lunch. Just remember to leave no trace. Whatever you bring in, you bring out, and anything you didn't bring in, you don't bring out. On the trails, after you look at the Mima Mounds, there are trails that go through the woods, and that, even though I'm going to the Mima Mounds, that's probably my favorite part, because you really get to see the understory of the forest. There's all kinds of nurse logs that are growing. Amazing, honestly amazing things. I took several pictures that I want to share with you. Some of the stumps actually have trees growing out of them. A lot of the stumps and branches have very small little microhabitats where organisms can build nests or make a little habitat for themselves. It's really beautiful, and seeing the sunlight kind of like shimmering through the branches, it's kind of a otherworldly experience. So it's definitely worth walking through the forest area. I enjoy looking at the moss and the ferns and all the different plants. I even saw there's some Claytonia growing as a weed in the area, but everything is like in its own natural balance. It was really beautiful. I didn't see any birds. However, one of my students took a picture of a hawk that was amazing. It was really cool. He had a really sophisticated camera, and it looked just so cool. Unfortunately, that's his photo, so I'm not sharing it here. But if you go, you might see some really amazing songbirds as well as birds of prey. And you definitely will hear the birds. It's just amazing. It sounds like you're in a rainforest. So I'm hoping that you're going to check out the Mima Mounds and the trails that they have around the property. I am so glad that I was able to bring out all my science classes to the Mima Mounds this week. It was really cool, and I know I'm going to be going back soon to show my own children because they haven't been out yet, and it's really interesting. It'd be a really fun family talk to discuss what do you think could have caused those Mima Mounds, what's realistic or what's probable, versus what's just fun to consider. And what evidence would you need to decide one way or the other, right? So with this, I'm going to go ahead and post in here a bunch of pictures that I didn't have a chance to share with you yet. And that's how I'm going to close the video, is if you want to watch, I'm going to put a little bit of music here and you can see the other images I took while we're walking around the and having our field trip. So enjoy the pictures. Hopefully you'll have a chance to see this all in first person, in real life. And if you can't, then at least you have the photos I'm sharing with you now. And this definitely gave me some ideas of possibly some little garden areas that I might want to try to replicate in my yard to kind of mimic what they had going on there. All right, everybody, remember, be good, be sweet, and grow a garden if you want to eat. Enjoy the photos that are following here now. You are a very unique and special person, because almost no one makes it to the end of a video. I want to tell you, God bless you. I appreciate you. Thank you for spending time with me today, and I hope that you will subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you on my channel again soon.